information by the NDC around the rather good news that the President announced to cocoa farmers, which they have celebrated, which they have been very joyous about. But because the NDC doesn't like for our farmers to be happy, they've decided to congregate themselves in the heart of our cocoa growing area, one of the areas where cocoa is grown in our country, where our farmers are working very hard to help contribute their quota to national development. They've congregated themselves there this afternoon to deliberately skew the issues, create the impression that what they are feeling is not true, and that they have a better explanation, as though the NDC has not been in power before. We intend to do this conversation, and subsequently tomorrow we'll have a more elaborate engagement trying to bring the truth to Ghanaians. So I will implore you, as you have attended to our invitation, to carry this message, interrogate the facts, ask critical questions as we'll start tomorrow, because they have put out the lies, the intentional skewing of the issue, misrepresentation of the facts. We'll put the facts out as they are, and we'll plead with you that as you open your doors to our discussions tomorrow, you'll give us all a fair opportunity to speak to the facts and ask the NDC the right questions, because much of what they talked about today represents misinterpretation of the facts. So I thank you for joining us here. The issue we like to talk to you about, as I've indicated, is the producer price increase that was announced by the President. That's about a 63.5% jump in the producer price, a historic one in 50 years amongst the countries here in the West African sub-region. That is the highest in 50 years. The total announcement was a jump from what used to be 12,800 Ghana cedis per metric ton of cocoa that represents 800 cedis per bag. So in every metric ton, you have about 16 bags in there. So before this jump, a metric ton of cocoa sold for 12,800 cedis, and a bag was 800 Ghana cedis. The increase announced, which is in dollar terms $1,821, equals 20,943 Ghana cedis. Now, if you were listening, you heard the NDC did some mathematics. I think I'll wait toward the end of a session here. We'll deal with those numbers. So as I indicated, Ghana's current producer price for cocoa is the highest we've had in 50 years in any West African country that produces cocoa. The calculation, and this is important, ladies and gentlemen, to note, the calculation that I just told you about that resulted in the 1,308 Ghana cedis per bag price and a 20,943 per metric ton price was calculated based on exchange rate of 11 Ghana cedis 50 pesos. And that is free on board price. And I will take some time to explain that. Free on board is the cost before insurance and freight. So if, in other words, that is farm gate price, that is what we're talking about. So in dollar terms, the increase represents about $2,600. That is the cost or the price at which cocoa is selling before the cost of insurance and freight. So it's at farm gate at 2,600. I'm emphasizing that because the NDC is mixing the issue. They talk about some 3,600, total misrepresentation of the fact, but we'll get there. Now, the prices that we have announced, the benefit of that is evident. But because people are seeking to mislead I'll talk to you about a few of the benefits. From 12,800 to 20,943. Some of the benefits include for farmers, cocoa farmers will receive a higher price for their cocoa beans, increasing their income. Farmers can use the extra income to improve their living standards, invest in their farms, and meet financial needs. It reduces their vulnerability to economic shocks, leading to more stable and secure livelihood. Motivation for cocoa farming. A higher producer price motivates existing cocoa producers to continue to cultivate and encourage others to enter into cocoa farming or cocoa cultivation, which can contribute to sustainability of the cocoa sector. This increased price would also help in job creation. The rise in the producer price of cocoa is poised to create employment prospects for young individuals in agriculture, engaging them engaging them as laborers in tasks like planting, harvesting, and cocoa farm maintenance. With the potential for more significant income, the youth of our country will be motivated to pursue cocoa farming as a viable and legal alternative to other, often illicit endeavors such as galamsey. Economic growth. The increase the new producer price would help stimulate economic growth in cocoa growing areas as farmers and their families spend their additional income on goods and services in their local community. In other words, capital injection or cash injection in the local economy that is likely to drive economic activity in most of these cocoa growing areas. The increase also is likely to increase the national output. In other words, there will be a drive to cultivate more cocoa, which then results in higher output. With the incentive of a higher price, cocoa farmers may strive to increase their cocoa production, leading to a rise in cocoa production, which can benefit the country's cocoa industry and exports. The final benefit I want to talk to you about is the positive image. Ghana has been cultivating cocoa for a very long time, and this is the first time we have achieved a producer price as high as what we have today in 50 years. This is very significant. And this is likely to boost Ghana's reputation and help draw more relationship and partnerships for increased economic activity with the rest of the world and cocoa buyers across the world. The change in the new producer price, there's a new calculation, the calculation that I just come out. I want to explain briefly based on what has been done. There used to be a formula where it is based on net calculation, so net FOB as against gross FOB. So what is being done now is that the calculation is based on gross FOB. So, which means in essence that we are calculating the price paid to the farmers before all other costs are taken out, as opposed to the reverse where farmers get paid after all the costs are taken out. And if you look at it just from that explanation, it is clear to you that farmers would get more rather than less with this calculation. So producer price determination mechanism has changed from net FOB to gross FOB. The difference is that with the use of net FOB, the amount that farmers were to be paid was arrived at after all industry costs had been deducted. However, with a change in the mechanism to use gross FOB, the amount that farmers would be paid will be determined first before all other industry costs are taken. The critical difference is that the net FOB, the amount paid to farmers, as I just explained, will be deducted before all industrial costs are taken out. Also, there is another interesting thing that has happened. There is a reduction in industry costs. And if you had listened I was listening to the NDC, and they were talking about a lot of the money stays in the office. And they were asking the rhetorical question, saying that, is the money supposed to be in the office, or is cocoa cultivated in the office? The cost, the industry cost, has been capped at 40%. Now that, I'm sure the NDC will have to check their notes before they go making wild allegations. Now, this year, the announcement of the producer price was moved up to September from its typical October schedule. This change has made it possible for farmers to be given timely access to funds to fulfill their financial commitments and responsibilities promptly. Higher payments, so that's the benefits of the change that we've just been talking about. Higher payments to farmers as a result. This change in the mechanism ensures that farmers receive more significant portion of the export value of cocoa. In simpler terms, farmers who are at the heart of production gets more substantial share of profits from cocoa exports. The evidence, as you may have read about already, lies in the 63.5 increase that has been announced in the price for the 2023-2024 crop year. Fairer distribution of profits. This is one key benefit that cocoa farmers are deriving. By giving farmers more significant share of the profit, 63.5%. I want us to remember that, 63.5%. Farmers, having been given the significant share of the profit from cocoa export, this change in mechanism will promote equitable distribution of wealth within the cocoa supply chain. This can lead to improved living standards for cocoa farmers and encourage more people to engage in cocoa farming. And finally, protection against price drops. And this is one key benefit based on the change in the period from originally being in October to September. The new mechanism helps protect farmers from potential future drops in international market prices. It acts as a safeguard to ensure that farmers are less affected by any decline in cocoa prices that may occur. Producer price and achieved price. There is a difference which the NDC is confusing. So you hear often about the syndicated loan that is taken. What that does is that because we sell our products forward, so currently what crops we're selling this year are the crops that are for 2023, 2024. So next year we'll be selling forward. So we are always a year behind and we're selling ahead. So now on that basis, the price that is being announced now is the achieved price on the market. So the average of the various syndications that has been agreed upon that our cocoa for 2023, 2024 will be sold at that particular price. So that is the achieved price. Under NDC, when the achieved price of cocoa, achieved price for FOB of cocoa was $2,950, the NDC paid farmers $1,800. I want you to remember those numbers. When the FOB price for cocoa, the achieved price, the agreed price at which they were going to sell the cocoa, the NDC paid Ghanaian cocoa farmers $1,800, where currently we at $2,600, we're paying farmers $1,821, and they are in Hafo region saying that is not enough. When they had more, they paid less. Under NPP, with the achieved FOB of cocoa at $2,600, farmers will be paid $1,821 per ton. Now, these numbers don't confuse. If we are speaking some language, like interpretation and all of that, numbers are just what they are. They were paying $1,800 at $2,950. And we are paying $1,821 at $2,600. Ghana engages, as I was talking earlier on, Ghana engages in forward sales of significant volumes of its cocoa to secure the syndicated loan to pay farmers. As a result, the determination of the producer price takes into account the achieved FOB price over several months of sale. Since prices in the forward sales market differ significantly from spot prices, the most recently achieved FOB price, which I've been talking about, $2,600 per ton, formed the basis for calculating the new producer price. So the $1,821 that I was telling you is derived from the forward sales that we have achieved at 2,600. It is therefore incorrect for anyone, or for the NDC, in this case, the former president who started the misinformation on his Twitter handle, it's incorrect for him to compute the producer price of cocoa using the spot price. There are two different numbers. The spot price is the prevailing price. It's the price of cocoa now. The producer price that we just announced was based on an achieved FOB price in the market much earlier. So that's not a price that is the 2,600 is not a price we had agreed to sell the cocoa. So even if the price is today at 3,600, that's not how much we're going to sell it. Because we had already agreed, we had already signed a contract, and all of us here can understand that simple concept, right? So if you go to Cantonment and you go to rent a house there, or go anywhere, go to rent a house, and you rent the house today, and tomorrow suddenly the same house, another person comes to rent it 2 months after you have come. The fact that you rented it yesterday don't force the hand of the owner to want to rent it to you at the same price. They will increase it. The same room, if you stay in 2 years or 1 year, at the end of it, they say they are increasing. Nothing has been done to it. But that is the prevailing price. The price you paid yesterday is not the same price. And I'm not sure any one of you here would go and pay a rent 100 cedis or 500 cedis a month, and then tomorrow the person will come and say, oh, now next door they are charging 550, so you bring the difference of 50. I don't know how many of you will agree to do that. But that's what the NDC is inviting us to think about. But the interesting thing I want to underline for you, even with the 3,600 spot price that they are talking about, that amount includes insurance and freight. It's not FOB price. It's not farm gate price they are talking about. So in other words, that 3,600 is not the price, if you want to sell now, that you will sell. Because you have to take away the cost of insurance and freight from that amount. So unless you are able to determine how much freight insurance would be, which doesn't come to the farmer, right? The farmer sells at farm gate. So if the spot price now is 3,600, which NDC is advertising, which is completely erroneous, includes, it's a CIF cost. It's not FOB. So that difference we need to understand. So there are two ways of selling it. You either take it to the market and sell, and you understand that concept, right? If you have your product and you are selling it here, and somebody is buying it from you here, most of us do that when we travel and we're coming back to Accra, we buy stuff there, and we expect it to be cheaper in Kintampo or Techiman than it is in Accra. So you go to Techiman to go and buy cassava. That cassava, if it's in Accra, you buy the same cost. So the CIF cost that the NDC is advertising at 3,600, which is the spot price they are talking about, includes what? Exactly handling charges and anything else that you would do before the commodity gets to the market. But the 2,600 is absolute price paid at the farm gate. And I'm sure we understand that concept. That's why when we travel, we buy these things because we know it will be cheaper. Those transportation costs will not be added. Any insurance that is taken to bring the commodity to the market will not be charged to us as well. So again, let's understand the misinformation the NDC is putting out there. When NDC left power in 2016, the world price was $2,950 per metric ton of cocoa. The price then, when we came in 2017, sharply declined to $2,050. And also between that period, about 2 years continuously, it stayed down and then increased marginally to $2,350 2 years later. Yet, this government, and I'm sure most of you are aware of this, yet this government paid cocoa farmers the same amount the NDC was paying when they were selling a metric ton at $2,950.